Year 3 for Ron Rivera has come to an end here in Washington. We take a look at what he's been able to build here in D.C. as we start to prepare for 2023. Plus, Sam Howell gave the coaching staff a lot to consider with his play in Washington's season finale against the Cowboys. He joins us in studio. And Kendall Fuller finished the year on a high note, recording his second pick 6 of the season. We hit the practice field with our former players to give you a little insight as to how defensive backs disguise their coverages. We begin today's show with some big news regarding the coaching staff. The Commanders have officially parted ways with offensive coordinator Scott Turner after 3 seasons. The Commanders finished the year 20th in total offense, averaging just over 330 total yards and a shade under 19 points a game. In the previous 2 seasons, Washington's offense finished 29th in 2020 and 21st in 2021. Now, head coach Ron Rivera released the following statement on Tuesday evening. I met with Coach Turner today and informed him that we'll be moving in another direction going forward with the offensive coordinator position. Unfortunately, we did not live up to the expectations and standard that I expected to see from our offensive unit. I felt it was best for a fresh start at the coordinator position heading into next year. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Scott and thanked him for his 3 years of service to our organization. I wish Scott and his family all the best in the future. And with that, we do bring you into Command Center. Julie Donaldson, Logan, Paulsen, and Fred Smooooot. Look, you never want to see somebody lose their job because it does have a big impact on their families as they do move forward. But what is your reaction, Logan, to this move?
You know, obviously, our thoughts go to Scott. Obviously, like you said, that's a very tough situation to be in. I do think that this is something that kind of had to happen. The offense and the team has kind of been in the stagnant 7-win, 8-win kind of circle, and something needed to change. And the offense had been struggling. And, you know, that's not all necessarily Scott's fault. There's a lot of factors that we can talk about later that I think contributed to that, but he's got the guy that kind of takes the fall for that, and I think it's his responsibility because he's the offensive coordinator. He's in charge of that group.
I've been saying, when you grade the offense and you look at the offense, you say, all right, they wasn't good in the red zone, they wasn't good on third down, they're not good on the critical situations. All right, we have to make a change here. All right, we have a wide receiving group that I think stacks up in the top 5 of the NFL. We need more production out of them. All right, I think the coaches want answers. I think the fan base want answers, and at the end of the day, somebody has to be the sacrificial lamb in that situation.
So you talk about what kind of coordinator needs to come in here and be able to take this offense, because there's a lot of weapons there. And you heard head coach Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew talk about they want to be a run-first team, but as to your point, you do have some of the best receivers in the game as well. What kind of coordinator do you need to go forward with this?
I mean, I think you're looking for a person like, you know, from that Atlanta tree, from the Tennessee tree, someone who wants to run the football, they want to get after it, they understand the importance of marrying pass and run formations and concepts together. And that's going to be, it's a very specific type of person you're looking for. So I think that's what you're looking for.
No, Logan. We want somebody that's going to spread it out.
That's what Marty said. That's what Marty said. He said we want 2 to 1.
We want somebody to just spread it out and add an element to it. We know we can run it. We know what we can do there. We need somebody to add a whole nother element here. So I want to pass. Somebody want to throw the ball around.
All right. Well, they have their work cut out for themselves this offseason. Look, 2022 was the 3rd year under head coach Ron Rivera in our nation's capital. And after starting the season 1-4, well, they were able to turn things around and win 6 out of their next 7 games. But unfortunately, look, that momentum, it just didn't last, folks, as they finished the year with an 8-1 record overall. Now, despite finishing with just 1 more win than the previous season, head coach Ron Rivera is pleased with the direction that they're headed in.
We had some extraordinary circumstances and situations my first year. My second year, obviously, that was probably the most disappointing. But this year, you look at some of the things that we did, and you like to say, you know, they showed that they can come out and fight and play hard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not easy. It's not simple. Coming back from where we were, enduring the things that we've endured, you'd like to believe that people understand that. You know, you look at some of the things that we've done. You look at the youth on this football team, how these young guys have played. You look at the number of young guys we've put on the football field that played for us, that played meaningful minutes in big games and won. You like to think that that shows that they are growing, that they're developing, they understand what it takes now. So I'd like to think that that shows something. It's not always on what's on the won-loss record that indicates whether you've grown a little bit or not. It's been my experience that winning certain types of games are important, and I think we did some of those things. You know, we've done it a couple of times where we beat the most, you know, the last undefeated team in games that we weren't picked to even come close. We've handled those types of moments. So I think there's been some growth. I'm not saying we're there, but I'd like to think that we have a chance to get there. I thought last year we have a chance to take a step, and I do think we took a step. Am I disappointed we didn't get in the playoffs? Darn right I am. We had an opportunity to control our own destiny, and we didn't do the things that we needed to at the right time.
Okay, yeah. I mean, most certainly there's players to build around. There were positives to take from the season, but overall you didn't advance. The season did not go the way that they had anticipated or planned. And now that we're kind of like a couple days removed from this, we should be preparing for a postseason game, but instead we're kind of digesting what happened this year. Fred, what did we learn about this team?
We learned that we didn't finish what we started. Coach just said it. We controlled our own destiny, and we still let it slip through our fingers. We figured out a way to lose these games. It's no one position group you could point to in these last 4 games and say we got better play from this group, we would be okay. It was a little bit of everybody. Special teams wasn't special. Offense didn't score any points. Defense started to lag. They didn't make the impact plays that they made early in the year. So I think as a group, we let the fan base down. But guess what? Like he said, it's so many bright points. You look here and you look here and you say, oh, we were this close, but yet we that far away. And I think that's the scary part about it.
Yeah, I think obviously Fred brings up a fantastic point because you're a smart guy, Fred.
Yeah, thank you.
The idea that like this team fell short of expectations, and we had so many high expectations at the beginning of the year. And you look at the quarterback position, and we're still looking for a quarterback. All those issues are still apparent, but I do think that there are some really bright spots on the roster to be excited about. I think you look at the young pieces that are growing and developing. Jamin Davis, man, he could be a really special football player.
Yep.
You get the young safeties, Cam Curl, Forrest, all these guys, Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson. These pieces are things you can build around. Now you kind of say, what do we need to get really improve on? Offensive line, maybe a secondary piece. Find some of those pieces, and maybe it's there for you if you get the right coordinator in here.
You know, you really have to find the quarterback too. And head coach Ron Rivera has been saying that. He went through 8 different starting quarterbacks in his 3 seasons here, so still unable to find that stability. They tried to bring in a veteran, Ryan Fitzpatrick injury, Carson Wentz injury. That route didn't necessarily work, although we understand what the philosophy was going in with that with a very young team. Now you saw what you got to get out of potentially Sam Howell and what he could grow into. So what do we do going forward, Logan?
Logan just said it. He just said it.
What did I say?
Offensive line.
Yep.
All right, like at the end of the day, we just introduced Tutty. All right? Tutty is 100% bacon. All right, last time we was great on this offensive line, we had the hogs. We had guys that smell like bacon. We see what happens on the defensive line when you dominate the line of scrimmage. If we can get that way on offense, I believe you could take an average quarterback and he can play great behind a great offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're getting to here, right? Is maybe you can build around Sam Howell. I think he showed you some things to get you really excited about his ability, his skill set, his moxie, all those different things. Maybe bring in a veteran to kind of mentor, maybe compete with him if the progression doesn't happen the way you want it to. But I think when talking with people around the building, talking with people that I have a lot of respect for, Sam Howell showed them a lot, and I think they're excited about what he brings.
I mean, to the point we were talking about earlier as well, is if you want to take advantage of Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, the line has to be able to hold up to give the quarterback time to let the play develop, to be able to go downfield, and that's something that they were a bit at a disadvantage of this year. So they did want that kind of run-first mentality. They did find success with that. If we go defensively, though, there's a lot of bright spots. We don't know if they can really keep everybody together. I think that's a big question this offseason, too, Fred. What gives you hope for next year with that unit?
The defensive line makes me smile. The defensive line, I sleep easy at night knowing them guys out there. Kendall Fuller is still a young guy, 27, 28. St. Jude showed us a lot. Defo came up full circle to show us the player he is. Cam Curl is still the consistent guy back there. But Julie, we need linebackers. We need guys that run sideline to sideline, that swap paint. This where if any place on their defense you could say need to be addressed, it's linebacker.
Yeah, for me, I think Cam Curl is the most exciting piece, and the fact that Percy Butler has developed and is a guy that can kind of supplement what Cam Curl does, I'm really excited about that.
A lot to build on defensively and offensively, but that's the whole thing we're still building here going into year 4 with head coach Ron Rivera. And if we're talking about year 4, well, we do have the 2023 opponents. It's been finalized for the Commanders. Washington will play all 4 teams from both the NFC West and AFC East this fall. And since Washington finished 4th in the division, they will also square off with the 4th place finishers of the NFC South and the AFC West, the Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos on the road. Now coming up, Sam Howell made the most of his NFL debut, earning a win against division rivals Dallas. He joins us in studio to discuss his first career start. And we send Logan and Fred out to the practice field to put you in the player's shoes and find out some tips defensive backs are using to help trick opposing quarterbacks. Welcome back. In last weekend's season finale, quarterback Sam Howell had quite the NFL debut as he helped lead Washington to a 26-6 victory over the division rival Dallas Cowboys. Howell threw for 169 yards and scored a pair of touchdowns, one through the air and one on the ground. The former fifth-round draft pick became the first Washington rookie to have a passing touchdown and rushing score in the same game since Robert Griffin III back in 2012. Okay, Sam, you got that first start.
Mm-hmm.
Was it everything you imagined?
Yeah, it was awesome. Just truly a dream come true. And I'm just super grateful for the opportunity to get out there and play football again. So it was awesome. Everything I thought it would be.
You know, a lot of guys will tell me they kind of visualize the games. Could you have visualized it going the way that it did and getting that win over, I mean, of all things, in all teams, the Dallas Cowboys, knowing that they were playing for a lot?
They were. And we knew they'd be playing for a lot. And, that kind of gave us a chip on our shoulder. Even though we weren't really playing for anything, we still have a lot of pride. And every time we step on that field, we're playing for the name on the front of our jersey and the name on the back. And so we weren't going to let them come in here and let it be easy for them. And so that's what we did.
Did anything surprise you about the game?
I mean, honestly, not really. I mean, I know how good this team is, and I know, when we're playing good football, we can beat anybody in this league. And Dallas is a really good football team, and they'll probably make a good run in the playoffs. But we played our best last night, and it showed.
Everybody was curious to kind of see how you would have chemistry with the guys and what kind of rhythm you would take. How do you feel that went for you?
Yeah, I think it went pretty good. There's obviously a couple plays I'd like to have back, but we connected when we needed to and put points on the board when we needed to. And it was just really credit to our defense. They played great all night long and gave us good field position, which made my job easy. And special teams made 2 big plays as well, which made it really easy for us.
The Cowboys, they weren't letting up, and they're considered a top defense in the NFL. How much was it going up against and kind of just being around the defense that Washington has, pretty darn stout themselves, that kind of maybe helped prepare you for that? What did you learn from our defense?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of scout team stuff throughout the year, and so going against our starting defense, and I really just learned a lot, just how good they are and how fast those guys are and how good of a job they do of closing windows. And so being able to do that scout team stuff, I took it very seriously. And I learned a lot from our defense. And I was glad to get out there against a really good defense in Dallas. There were some talks that they might be rushing some guys or whatever the situation might be, but I wanted their best, and I wanted their best out there, so I was excited that we got it.
There's a lot of question marks at this position, we hear, going into the offseason. Where is your mind in what you're capable of doing and what you want to be able to do going forward here with Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's just one game, and I just want to go to work this offseason and just come back ready to go. I don't know what the situation will be. I'm sure they have a lot of decisions that they need to make, but whatever it is, I'll be ready to go, and this team will get my best.
All right, congrats, Sam.
See
you around.
Thank you.
On the other side of the ball in Washington's season finale, the defense held the Cowboys to just 182 total yards, the third fewest they've ever allowed against Dallas. Cornerback Kendall Fuller recorded his second pick-6 of the season, and it looks like he was close to picking off the pass right before. Now, for more insight on how defensive backs can make things difficult on quarterbacks, let's head out to the practice field with Fred and Logan. This is our Field Pass FedEx, where now meets next.
All right, today we're going to demo something I think is a lot of fun, and we have one of the best guys in the business to do it, Fred Smooooot. He's going to show us how DBs and safeties can disguise coverages to mess up the offense, specifically the quarterback. So, Fred, right now you're in a cover 2 shell.
Yeah.
You've got the flat. These are the 2 deep players. We're kind of halving this field up, right?
Yep.
So as an offensive player, I have specific rules. My route is going to bend inside of this safety. I have that in my pre-snap logic, right? But actually, Fred, what coverage are you playing right now?
I'm actually playing cover 3.
Right.
I want to show you something that you're not going to see. So
Right.
I'm going to set it 5.
5 yards.
Half. Yep. Right? And I want to show you this and hold this as long as possible. And that's why the quarterback go through his cadence, As he goes through that cadence, we're going to get the walk. As he get closer to the ball being snapped, now I need to get to where I need to get to.
Right.
The safety comes down, I back up because I have third.
Yes.
She has middle third.
Right.
And now we're going to play ball because he'll push out here to this wide receiver.
Right.
And now I play deep.
And that's really advantageous for the defense because my rules have now changed based on this. If I'm playing quarterback, for example, and I think this is a cover 2 side, I'm going to throw a cover 2 beater, it doesn't work versus cover 3. So that's where this disguise becomes really advantageous, and it puts the defense in a position where they can make a play. Because Kendall Fuller, he disguised some coverages in the game, right?
Yes.
They thought he was playing man coverage, right?
Yep.
He's really playing quarters with eyes to the quarterback, and they're able to get interception on the out. How else can you disguise these coverages, Fred?
All right, check this out. We move right now. Now I want to show you this. When you see me walk up,
This
what you thinking,
this
Logan?
looks like man coverage, baby.
It looks like man coverage, and that's what I want you to think it is. I want you to think it's man coverage, but actually we're going to play some cover 4 right
Cover
here.
4.
And I can do this from the press position.
Right.
The only people that needs to actually move in what we call rock and roll, free safety, strong safety.
Because he's got to show me man too, right?
He has to, we have to work together.
And then if it's man coverage, she's got to be playing the post, right, technically?
Has to be in the post.
Right, and so then on the snap, what's going to happen, Fred?
Jam him here.
Good.
We playing with eyes.
Yep.
We playing with eyes.
Right, and this is really good versus vertical concepts, because some teams, Fred, when they see this press, what do they want to do?
They want to throw fade routes.
They want to throw fade routes, right? So you say, hey, I'm going to bait you into throwing a fade route. I'm going to bait you into throwing this ball that I'm actually going to cover the spot of, right?
Yeah.
So walk through it, Joey. You're going to run a fade on the versus quarters. And look at Fred, just gets to sit right there on the outside shoulder. Joey's pretty fast, but that ball's not getting completed. And again, that probably gives you an opportunity to make an interception there, right, Fred?
Oh, yeah, that's what zone does. Zone gives us 2 things. Gives me the ability to look at the quarterback, see the play unfold, and go make plays.
And so when you're dictating this, is this something you practice, Fred, or is this something you just kind of figure out as the game goes?
All right, see, the great thing about the defensive backfield, we like a rock and roll band. We have to all be on the same accord. We have to all move at the same time. We have to all trick the quarterback at the same time. So my safeties get used to seeing me back and forth, and they will start to move in tandem so we can really play some Jedi mind tricks with the quarterback.
And that's kind of what Ron's talking about. When the group is playing well together and they're communicating well together, these disguises become even better.
They become even better, and they make your play easier.
Yeah.
You want to make the play easier for you and your team? Work in unison.
And that's why it's so great to have some of these young guys growing up in this defense, because they're going to build this chemistry, they're going to build these relationships, and hopefully get more picks. Can't wait for this offseason and can't wait for next season.
In preparation for the 2023 season, the Commanders made a slew of roster moves, signing 10 players to reserve/future contracts. The signing secures the player to the roster for the offseason, and they cannot negotiate with other NFL teams. The players will be added to the offseason roster when the new league year begins in March and team rosters expand to the 90. Now, coming up next, in order to avoid slow starts to the regular season, Ron Rivera is considering some changes to the offseason schedule. Details on what that could mean when we return to Command Center. We are back on Command Center, and during head coach Ron Rivera's time in Washington, the team has been slow to start the year. In the past 3 seasons, Washington has had a 3-6 overall record in games played in September. During his year-end press conference, Coach Rivera shared a few ways he thinks they can improve on the slow starts to the year.
I think one of the things that we have to take a look at is the injuries coming out of camp. We had a lot of soft tissue injuries this year, and it's really the first time. So far, the one major correlation that we found, it was one of the warmest summers we've ever had. And so we probably have to take a look at how we practice when the temperature goes up. That's probably one of the things. One of the other things that we're most certainly going to look at is working with another team. You know, I go back to some of the experiences I had in my previous stint. We had a couple of we actually did it 3 times, and 2 of those 3 times we came out and we had really good years. So it's something we're going to take a look at also in this offseason.
All right, joint practices, something that you couldn't do during COVID, kind of put on hold, but a lot of teams do choose to participate in. Logan, do you like joint practices?
Personally, as a player,
Tell the truth,
I did not like joint practices. I think they were very, very stressful for me. Like, I didn't know the tempo. What's this guy going to do? Who's this guy? What's that about? I was a guy who liked to prep, and then all of a sudden you get all these new variables in. But as a coach, as a talent evaluator, I think they're awesome. I think that's one of the best ways to find out where your roster's at. You can compare it one-to-one with other teams. Because that's one of the issues with practicing it yourself, is you only see it versus your roster. Compare the whole roster versus another team. I think that's advantageous. But as a player, man, not for me.
I understand you're an offensive player. I'm a defensive player. We love it. It ain't nothing like you said, we get frustrated taking on our own players, and I learned your habits, and now I'm creating bad habits because I learned your habit. I love it when we get a new set of players in here, a new challenge from a new offensive coordinator, a new challenge from a defensive coordinator. I used to love it when we did it with the Baltimore Ravens, with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, because they set the challenge in practice, and we had to answer that challenge. So I think it's beneficiary, and I think the players that do it, they start out fast. I think the teams that do it start out fast in September, and that's the answer we're looking for right now.
Yeah, because to your point, Fred, it allows you as a coach to kind of dictate situations. We can work red zone, we can work back up, we can work in the field, and we can work it against another defense who kind of give us a good self-scout of our stuff, right?
Where we at.
So I think that's an excellent point. Like, it lets you control so much more and kind of accelerate your process instead of relying totally on the preseason.
Haven't we seen some teams so far this season maybe not even have to start their starters in the preseason because they got them in the joint practices?
Yeah, and that's the key right now, because nobody playing your best players in the preseason anymore. So if you want to see some real action and you want to really gauge where these players at, and you want to gauge your coaches too. If you want a challenge for your coach, you put another coaching staff on the same field, and now they raise the stakes, and now everything changes. And I think that's the best way to check your team and say, who are we, where are we, and what do we need to do to get better?
And it also helps you insulate your team from injury. Like, Tom Brady has not played in a preseason in 30 years, right? Because he does all these joint practices, right? And they can insulate your good players, insulate the situations. I think that's an excellent point, Fred. And I think that's something I'm excited, because I think it's going to help this team get better, especially early on in the year.
I can't believe it only took 18 weeks for you to agree.
Oh, come on! I think you're a smart guy, Fred. Let's go, bud.
Well, it's funny in talking about this. They had totally opposite takes. Logan's like, don't want it, I hate it. Fred's like, I love it.
As a player, I hate it. As a coach, I get it.
I mean, I know when I talk to a lot of guys, they get excited to finally take on somebody else besides their teammate. Joint practices would allow that. We're done here in Command Center. Thanks for joining us, everyone.